Scripts for saying no don't fail because you lack confidence. They fail because they were written for a nervous system that isn't running a fawn response. And if you've ever found the right words, rehearsed them, even felt ready, and then watched yourself apologize anyway the moment you were actually in it, that is not a failure of willpower. That is a mismatch between the tool and the wiring. Most of the advice about saying no assumes that the problem is vocabulary, that you just need the right phrase, that if someone hands you the sentence, you'll be able to say it. But anyone who has been in this pattern long enough knows that isn't where it breaks down. You had the sentence. You knew what you wanted to say. And something else came out. This video is about why that happens, specifically, and what language actually holds when your nervous system is doing what it was trained to do. Not more scripts written for people who don't have this problem. Scripts built for the moment you're already in. Here is what the failed no actually looks like from the inside. Someone asks something of you. It might be your manager, your mother, a friend who has already asked too much this week, and something in your body registers it before your mind has even processed the words. A kind of tightening, a preemptive brace. And then the calculation begins. So fast you barely notice it's happening. The scan for what response will cost the least. Not what you want to say, what will keep things okay. And then you speak, and what comes out isn't no, or it's a no that immediately apologizes for itself. I'm so sorry. I just have a lot going on right now. I wish I could. I feel terrible. Maybe next time. Let me see if I can figure something out. The no is in there somewhere, but it's buried, wrapped in enough softening that it no longer functions as a no. And part of you is watching this happen in real time, already exhausted by it, already aware that you just agreed to something you didn't want. Research on verbal behavior under threat activation shows something consistent. When the nervous system reads a situation as requiring appeasement, language gets longer, more qualified, and more self-referentially apologetic. It isn't a choice. It's a pattern the body runs. The apologies that appear aren't weakness. They're the nervous system doing its job, keeping you safe by making yourself smaller. This is the freeze then comply sequence at the level of language. The sentence starts one way and lands another. Not because you forgot what you wanted to say, because something older and faster took over before the sentence finished. So the question this video is actually trying to answer isn't, what are the right words? It's, what kind of words survive activation? Those are different questions, and they have different answers. To understand what actually works, it helps to get specific about what doesn't and why. The standard scripts fail this audience in predictable ways. It's worth being specific about this, because understanding exactly where they break is how you understand what to build instead. The most common script you've probably encountered sounds something like, I appreciate you thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now. It's polite, it's clear, it's technically a no. And for someone whose nervous system isn't activated by the act of declining, it works fine. But here's what happens when someone running a fawn response tries to say it. First, the sentence is long enough that it requires sustained composure to complete. 8 words in, something on the other person's face shifts. Maybe just a flicker of surprise, maybe a slight tightening around the eyes. And that's enough. The skin that's always running picks it up. Danger. Recalibrate. And the sentence that was going to end with that right now ends instead with, but I can try to make it work somehow. The script didn't fail because you're broken. It failed because it was designed for a moment of calm decision-making that this situation was never going to be. The over-explained no has the same problem. I can't because I have this thing. And also, I've been really stretched lately, and my schedule has been difficult, and I want to be there for you, but every reason you give is an opening, an invitation to problem solve around your objection. And if the other person finds a way around one reason, you are already in the position of generating another, or giving up and saying yes. Here's what nobody says about this. The length of the explanation is directly proportional to how unsafe the no feels. The more frightened the nervous system, the more words come out. As if quantity of justification might soften the blow enough to make the rejection survivable for both of you. The over-explained no also signals something the other person's nervous system reads clearly. This person is not sure about what they just said, which is why the first pushback so often works. Not because they're manipulative, because you handed them the opening. A no that justifies itself is a no that doesn't quite believe in itself, and the body communicates that before the words finish landing. So here is what a holdable no actually looks like. The principle underneath all of it is this. Short sentences survive activation. Long sentences don't. When the fawn response is running, your working memory shrinks. Your ability to monitor tone, track the other person's reaction, and maintain the thread of a multi-clause sentence, all of it contracts. The sentence has to be short enough to finish even when you're frightened. And here's the second principle. A no that contains no reasons contains no openings. This is the one that feels most counterintuitive, because the instinct, the deep, trained instinct, is that you owe an explanation, that a bare no is rude, cold, unkind. But the explanation isn't for them. It's for you. It's the nervous system trying to pre-manage their response, and it consistently makes things worse. Here are sentences that hold. For the direct ask, something requested of you in the moment. That doesn't work for me. 5 words. No because, no apology, no opening. If the first pushback comes, really? Why not? The answer is the same sentence or a close variation. It just doesn't work for me right now. You are not obligated to generate a second reason. The repetition is not rudeness, it is steadiness. For the ongoing request, the thing someone keeps coming back to, I'm not going to be able to help with that. Notice the construction. Not going to be able to. Not I can't, which invites the question of why you can't, and whether you could if you tried harder. Not going to be able to closes the door differently. It's a statement of fact about the future, not an explanation of the present. For the family situation, the one where saying no feels like a moral failure. I love you, and I'm not going to do that. Both things. At the same time, the love is real. The no is real. They do not cancel each other out. This sentence is specifically for the situations where your refusal is going to be read as evidence that you don't care. It names the care and holds the line in the same breath. For the work situation, a request coming from someone with authority over you. I want to make sure I do this well. What can come off my plate to make room for it? This one isn't a no. It's a negotiation that functions as one. It signals that you take the work seriously. It redirects the conversation toward capacity rather than willingness, and it frequently produces its own no without you having to produce it directly. Here is the emotional climax of all of this. The thing that most of the content about saying no gets wrong. The no doesn't have to feel like freedom to be real. It is going to feel uncomfortable, possibly for a long time. The discomfort after using these sentences is not a sign that something went wrong. It is the nervous system doing what nervous systems do when a trained pattern is interrupted. Confidence is not the prerequisite for using these sentences. The sentence is the prerequisite. You say it first. The feeling, if it comes at all, comes after. If this is something you want to take further, if you're sitting with specific situations where you need actual language, not just principles, there's a resource in the description built exactly for that. Scripts for the 12 situations this audience faces most often. Family, work, romantic partners, the requests that come with guilt already attached. Link is in the description and the pinned comment. Here is what to expect the first time you use one of these. The other person is going to react. Maybe surprise, maybe a moment of silence, maybe a pushback. I didn't think you'd say no to this. Or, is everything okay? Or the version that is designed, consciously or not, to make you reverse yourself. And your nervous system is going to read that reaction as confirmation that something terrible is about to happen. The chest will tighten, something inside will go very still. The familiar wave will arrive, the one that says, take it back, fix it, make it okay again. This is not a sign that you did it wrong. This is exactly what the research on nervous system retraining describes. The discomfort of interrupting a long-held pattern is physiologically indistinguishable from the original threat it was designed to avoid. Your body doesn't know yet that the world didn't end. It will learn, but not in the first 30 seconds. So the move, in that moment, is not to feel okay. The move is to not add words. The sentence has already done its work. Every word you add after it is the apology trying to get back in. I hope that's okay. I feel terrible saying this. It's just that you don't have to perform certainty. You don't have to look confident. You don't have to feel in that moment like someone who has healed. You have to let the sentence stand. And here is the thing that doesn't get said about what happens after. Most of the time, the catastrophe doesn't come. The relationship doesn't end. The person doesn't leave. The terrible thing the nervous system was bracing for turns out to be a moment of awkwardness. and then a conversation continues. Not always. Sometimes there's real pushback. Sometimes the relationship was, in fact, dependent on your compliance, and the no reveals something painful about that. That is real information. It is hard information. And it is better to have it than to continue performing a yes that is costing you something you can't afford to keep giving. The no you say today doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be graceful. It doesn't have to feel like the person you're trying to become. It has to hold. That's all it has to do. And the next one will be slightly less terrifying. Not because you'll feel braver, because the nervous system will have one piece of evidence that survival is possible. If you want more language for more situations, the sentences for the specific relationships and moments where this is hardest. There's a resource in the description that goes 12 situations deep. Link is there and in the pinned comment. What's the one situation where saying no feels the most impossible for you? And what usually comes out instead? You know something now that you didn't have language for before this video. The scripts weren't failing because you weren't trying hard enough. They were failing because they were built for a baseline state your nervous system hasn't been running in a long time. That is not a flaw. That is a description of how adaptive wiring works. The sentences in this video are short on purpose. Plain on purpose. They don't require you to feel ready. They don't require you to believe them before you say them. They require only that you finish them and then let them stand. You are not failing. Your nervous system is running a pattern. Those are different things. One of them you can work with. The next time someone asks something of you, before the freeze, before the calculation, before the yes you didn't choose, there's something different available now. Not confidence, not certainty, a sentence short enough to finish, a door that stays closed long enough for you to notice it held. That is not a small thing. That is where this starts.